Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Mussetta Lee Storm, and today I'll be preparing two recipes that you can use to help celebrate Beltane. Beltane is a holiday that is celebrated on May 1st. It's also known as a fire festival and can involve fire jumping if you're so inclined to do so. Today, the recipes that we will be making are potato soup and Beltane asparagus. The first recipe that we will be making is potato soup. Okay, for the potato soup, what you will need is 5 medium-sized potatoes, peeled and cubed, 2 onions, finely chopped. I'll be leaving the onions out because I am allergic to them. 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 cups water, 1 tablespoon of butter, a half cup of flour, 6 cups of milk. I will be using oat milk as I am allergic to dairy. 5 slices of bacon chopped. I can't eat meat, so I will actually be using a seitan, that is a ham kind of mock. And pepper, which I also will not be using because I'm allergic to. And 1 tablespoon of dried parsley. And I'm going to go ahead and get started on getting the potatoes peeled and cubed, and put them into the pot to get them started for boiling with some salt, and I will show you all that when we get it going. Okay, so now I've got my potatoes all cubed up, and if you were going to use onions in this recipe, you would have your onions in here too. Add your 2 teaspoons of salt, and then we're going to add that 2 cups. We're going to add that 2 cups of water, and if that doesn't cover your onions and potatoes, add enough to cover your onions and potatoes. Then we're going to put this on the stove top and let it heat up covered so while my potatoes are boiling, I'm going to go ahead and take my bacon, or in this case I have a bacon substitute, which is an applewood smoked flavored ham plant-based deli slices. I've eaten these before as like a bacon-like substitute, fried them up in a pan. So this is what I'll be using. The recipe calls for 5 slices, and I'm going to just get those cut up and ready for when I fry them up for later to be put in the potato soup. Okay, and there's my chopped up bacon. Getting ready to be cooked here in a moment after the soup's all ready and to be put in the soup. Okay, so my potatoes are now nice and tender, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to drain off that water and I'm going to set the potatoes aside. Once I set those aside, I'm going to take this pot of mine, my nice heavy stock pot here, and I'm going to melt down a tablespoon of butter, and then I'm going to add in a half a cup of flour and get that all good and incorporated. Make sure the flour gets nice and cooked. And then we're going to start adding the milk slowly, and then and stirring that all in together and make sure it gets good incorporated. And then we're going to turn the heat up, get that thickened up, and then add in the potatoes. And then we're going to cook up our bacon and add that in too. So I'm going to go ahead and get these potatoes drained off and then get started with the butter and the flour. And we'll have a close-up view of that for you when I'm doing that. Okay, once you have everything in the pot, the milk with the flour and the butter, you're going to want to sit there and turn that up to high heat and keep stirring it until it starts to thicken. And after it starts to thicken, that's when you're going to want to add your potatoes. And if you cook them with the potatoes, the onions as well. Okay, now that my sauce has started to thicken up, I have turned the heat down to low, and I'm going to start to stir in my potatoes. And as I said earlier, if you cook them, your onions too at this time. Okay, now that we've got our potatoes and our onions stirred into the milk base, what we're going to do is just leave that sitting on low and let that just sort of cook together, absorb each other, get them flavors going. And then we're going to cook up our bacon in our skillet and then set it on a paper towel to drain. So this plant-based stuff doesn't really have a lot of oil or anything in it. It even recommends adding some oil when you cook it to help it, not stick to your pan. I have one of the ceramic coated non-stick pans, so I don't have to worry about that. But yeah, I just cooked it like you would normal bacon. As you can see, it doesn't nearly have any grease or oil or anything like that. It's actually cholesterol free according to the packaging. So there you go. There's my bacon. And so we're going to take a look at the soup here real quick and see how that's doing. Okay, so now that the bacon has been drained, as I said already, there wasn't really a whole lot on here to drain. It's not real crispy, but it's crisp enough. It's plant-based, so it's still a little squishy, but that's okay. It'll taste real good. At least it does to me in here. So we're just going to go ahead and stir that right into here. I'm just going to pick it up in its paper towel since that'll be easier for me. Just dump that right in. Just stir that in. So now we got our meat and our potatoes and our milk, so we got a lot of stuff going on in here. But now that we got that all done, we need to add some kind of green vegetable, I think. So we're going to go ahead and start the Beltane asparagus here. The Beltane asparagus recipe doesn't really take much. It's a pound, 2 pounds asparagus, depending on how much you want to make. Tamari almonds, which I pre-made before the video, and either butter or olive oil if you choose to pan fry. If you choose to steam, you can omit butter or olive oil or add those later on if you like. So I'm going to go ahead and get my asparagus prepped and the pan pulled out and get that all set up and ready to go. Okay, so I'm going to show you the way that I learned to prep asparagus. I have seen people use knives in the past, but I learned to just bend and let the stalk break where it will. When I was younger, I actually did grow asparagus for a short period of time, and when I say younger, I mean I wasn't even an adult yet, so yeah. We grew asparagus for a little while, so I do know a little bit about growing and harvesting and things like that. And my preferred method is to trim asparagus is to break the stalks. So let me go ahead and show you how to do that. I'll have the camera focus in on what I'm doing here. What you want to do is just take a hold of the stalk here, just sort of bend it like so, and just like that it snaps. And there you go. One snapped off, trimmed asparagus. All right, so we got that all trimmed up. What we're going to want to do if you are going to pan roast the asparagus like I'm doing on the stove, you're going to need 2 tablespoons of butter or oil of your choice. If you are steaming them, then you will use either a steamer basket or one of those, squishy little steam. They're also steam baskets, but you know what I'm talking about. They scrunch up like so. Over some water, and then steam them until they turn a bright green color. As I said, I'm going to use the butter, so I'm going to put 2 tablespoons of butter into a pan, put the asparagus in, and wait until it turns a nice bright green color. And then I'm going to plate them and top them with the tamari almonds that I made prior to the video. All right, they're nice bright green. They are not mushy. Vegetables should never be mushy. You should be able to, poke them with a fork and chew on them a bit. And now we're going to just sprinkle the almonds over top. There we go. Asparagus with tamari almonds. So to finish off your potato soup, just add salt and pepper to taste and a little bit of dried parsley to sprinkle on top. And then it's finished. And this is what you get.